Hi guys, we're going live. We're just trying to get to where it's doing everything right. Having technical difficulties.
Charles here locally in the community. Make sure y'all go check out Kneecap Body by Jeremy Smokin.
All right, it is kneecap biting with Smokin Jeremy B and Dan Leonard doing some Lions talk here this morning. I got a couple news items was able to bring up. Alex Thorzalone said he will be a go this Sunday in the divisional matchup. He injured his shoulder late against the Rams, but says it's fine and he's a go. So that's good news. So far, it looks like everybody that could play was a participant, including James Houston. So it looks like we're going to have a full complement of everybody we need for this game.
I still don't understand how Anzalone got hurt. With all that hair, it should cushion any hit he ever hits on that curve.
It was his shoulder, not his head.
Same thing. Dude, he's like Rapunzel out there.
I know. It gets longer every year by an inch.
I'm starting to burn him as Rapunzel now.
Hey, he stores alone unless he doesn't get pressure. Then he's back to the same old nickname.
Which one? We have a few of them.
The lubed up one. Of course, when he gets pressure,
I like the comments there.
Say what?
Rep your team in the comments.
Yeah. Man, what a great week this has been. The national media is coming out and talking about the Lions. It's been huge. Dan Orlovsky apologized for picking the Rams. I said it's not good enough, safety boy.
Just because of that safety, he should never, ever pick anybody but the Lions just out of being apologetic to the fans.
Oh, yeah, like, really? You're going to pick the Rams? You picked the Rams. I mean, we have not had a losing streak yet this season. Every time they've lost the game, they've won 3 or more after. Dwayne Keene pops in. Let's go Detroit Lions pride. 12-5 NFC North Division Championship title. Beat the Rams in wild card on its Tampa Bay's at home, the Den divisional round. Absolutely. And that's the thing. They were on 10 last week. That's the loudest I've ever heard Ford Field, even through a TV. It got to a point where the cameras were shaking from the stands, so they had to go to field level. And if we were on 10 for the wild card versus Matt Stafford, how much louder will they be this week versus the Bucs?
You would hope that they would be, but I could understand if the Stafford matchup was kind of the peak of the noise in the field there. I can understand why it would be that.
And it also was the playoffs. This fan has
For the
been
first time in 30 years.
Rabid for a home playoff game. Steve is real. Yeah. Comes in. And yes, that's like LA Knight. He's a Packers fan, but he admitted early in the season that this division was the Lions to lose. we've rebounded from every loss. We responded. And everybody says, "Oh, you haven't won against teams with a winning record." Um, in the NFC, other than the 49ers, don't all those teams have winning records?
I think they do.
Did the Lions not beat them all at least once? 1-1 with Green
Yes.
Bay.
In fact, they did.
They beat the Bucks.
Yeah.
They beat the Rams, who had a 10-win record coming in.
If you guys get to play Green Bay again and don't win, I'm gonna be a little pissed off.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little
They
pissed
owe
off.
me a win against the Packers this year. No, you'll owe me a win against the Packers this year.
Oh, because you bet on that game, didn't you?
That would have capped off 5 different parlays. And Green Bay had no business winning that game. Y'all just play like Pop Warner girls teams. It was like a powder puff football team out there. Granted, I
Okay.
understand 3 games in 10 days, but it broke my heart. What's wrong?
Yeah, Steve says, ignore all the talk and who beat who, who's good, who's not. I agree. I ignore all that stuff. That's a great comment. Susan Schultz comes in, said, I support Lions, praying for a win against Tampa. We beat them in January by a few. No, we beat them in October and only allowed them to score 6 points with half our defense on the IR or out for the game. We also didn't have our 2 starting running backs out that game. We had Gibbs and Monty on the sidelines injured. We had Laporta in a limited role in that game because he got banged up. We had St. Brown coming off of his flu. They didn't even know if he was going to play because he was sick versus the Packers that week. Paul Jones says, good morning, boys.
Good morning, Paul.
I mean, CJGJ was already on the IR. Brian Branch was out that game because he got hurt towards the end of the Packers game. What's that list? I got it in here. I mean, look at that list. Jonah Jackson was out. James Houston, Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Pascal was still out because he got hurt the week before. It was huge that we won that game and we're back healthy. Matthew Reneker says Lions will take care of business on Sunday. And Dwayne Keene says, good morning, all. Yeah, I'm going to let you know, there is less of a lag on YouTube than there is on Facebook. Because Facebook, it doesn't start the stream for almost a minute after it starts, whereas YouTube starts it within seconds. So it is a better show on YouTube. So please go over there, subscribe, like, share, whether it's my page, the Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions, or it's the Main Event 365. But I know you guys are on the Villain Squad, Lions Villain Squad here, and that's a great network too. 24,000 strong. We got such a reach on Facebook. It's redonkulous. Kudos to you guys to supporting us, talking heads, watching on here. I mean, don't forget, the Villain Squad has their own Patreon. I'm working on getting a Patreon myself. I'm going live on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook now. It's huge.
When you really think about it, man, it's amazing. People take time out of their days to watch your ugly old ass and my pretty ass.
That's right, Pasty J Glazer.
PCJ Glazer. I'll rock with it.
I'll rock with my bald ass here all the time.
I didn't say bald. I said ugly and old. Difference.
I said bald. This face is too pretty to be ugly.
Don't lie, man. When you were growing up, you were so ugly they had to tie a freaking chicken bone around your neck so the dog wouldn't even play with you.
I was fed by Slingshot. Eddie Grimes says, Jeremy, is that your brother? Yes, it's my brother from another mother. He's over there in Pennsylvania. He's got that eastern New York accent. He's got a nose so stuffed that he makes Jay Glazer sound like a non-cocaine user.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm full of it this morning.
It's okay, buddy. I'm going
And
to pay
Paul,
somebody in Detroit
you're
to come put
absolutely
taxes.
right. I have said this a million times. We have a face for radio and a voice to match.
I'm going to pay somebody in Detroit to come put cactuses under every single pillow in your house. When you go to sit down, you sit on a cactus, buddy.
So, what does everybody think about all the national media attention we've gotten after that huge win? Is it deserved? Is it hype? Or is it a little of both?
Dude, it's deserved, but at the same time, it's been deserved all year, and they weren't getting it. They got it more. Well, they got it more this year than last year. So part of me is kind of like, yo, get off the bandwagon.
We got a lot in the beginning of the year. And then after the key losses on Thanksgiving and at Chicago, everybody was jumping off and calling us frauds again. It was ridiculous. And then as soon as we whooped the crap out of the Broncos, everybody jumped back on the bandwagon and stopped leaving. Too little recognition still. Getting sick of still hearing about the Cowboys. Well, that was a collapse of epic proportions, almost as big as what the Beagles did versus Tampa Bay. And you're not hearing enough about that. It doesn't matter what seed we are. I believe in my team. And to be truthful, I don't like my team being the number one seed. I like the challenge of going on the road and win them games. Absolutely. I don't mind being a division winner, but the one seed has hindered teams in the past. Philadelphia
It's
Eagles
too long
and
of a streak.
Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs last year were the first time both number one seeds met in the Super Bowl in a long, long time. It's always been a wild card winner and one number one seed or a number two seed. Hey, and how about that? Bill Belichick, as soon as the Dallas Cowboys lost, he hopped on a plane and went to Atlanta for an interview. Is that a coincidence?
No, that was him saying, I want nothing to do with you, Jerry.
Exactly. And tonight is where we go over the divisional round. We're going to talk about all four games that's coming up. 8 teams left. 4 on the AFC, 4 on the NFC. Did you hear each playoff brings into Detroit 20 million each playoff game? Let's hope there are at least 2 more. Absolutely. I mean, if the Packers take care of business out there in San Francisco, and they have a shot. It's been 2 years since those guys have touched the field in a game situation. I do understand that on paper, the 49ers are a more complete team on both sides of the ball, but the rest or rust thing is going to come into effect tonight or this weekend. And yes,
I
and if
agree
you
100% there.
and if also if you think about it, that's an average. That 20 million each playoff game is just seat revenue and concessions. That doesn't include the hotels around. That doesn't include all the meals that there are bought outside the stadium. That doesn't include how many thousands they burn at the casinos they're staying at that are close to the Ford Field. I think it's actually closer to 100 million a game that the city of Detroit gets out of it in the surrounding areas. Steve says we just beat the number 2 seed, and if we beat the Niners this week, then we beat the number 1 seed. We're the 7th seed. Something to be proud about. And with the being the youngest team in the league, you guys are hot at the right time. Has nothing to do with your age. Has nothing to do with everything. It has to do with how well you guys played down the stretch. You guys are on what, like a 5-1 stretch right here? It's a pretty awesome. And yes, am I sick of hearing about the Cowboys? Yes. Am I sick of hearing about Cowboys fans crying? No, absolutely not. Let them
Never,
cry.
never,
Let
never,
them
never,
cry.
never.
We are at the choked in the playoffs. See you next year phase of the Cowboys cycle. The same as it's been since 1996-97 season.
Are we tired of hearing Cowboys fans cry? Never, never, never.
Dwayne Keene says, always with my Lions, win or loss. Absolutely. I've been supporting this team for almost 46 years of my life now. And Harbaugh has an interview with the Chargers. You know what? Harbaugh has done this to Michigan the last 3 years straight. He hires the same exact pro agent every year. He scheduled these interviews. Sometimes he goes for a second one. Sometimes he accepts 3 or 4. But guess what? So far, all he's done is held Michigan hostage for a bigger contract each year. He just won the Natty. Get your money.
There's a problem though with what he's trying to do to Michigan this year. He wants language put into the new contract that states that no matter what kind of sanctions or shit comes from the NCAA or any sort of investigation,
He's refused
either
from being
here or
fired.
in the future, he will not be fired. And right
Right,
there puts that university at such a disadvantage. Like they could bar them from all sorts of playoff, all the college playoff games, or if it's bad enough, they could freaking force them to close down their entire program. That is a
right,
horrible thing to try to do to a team.
right.
If I was Michigan, I'd be like, man, go pro, have fun. Thank you for your services. We wish you best in your future endeavors.
My exact words is, I don't mind making you the highest paid college coach, but I will not put that in the contract. That's my exact
Which
words
makes
I'd
me
use to
wonder.
Harbaugh. As a Michigan fan. I am a Michigan fan. I love Michigan. I love the Lions. I'm a Michigan fan on Saturday and a Lions fan on Sunday or whatever days they play. That's the way I've always been. But I'm not a homer on it either. You've heard me talk.
My
I,
question
I'm
is
a
this:
realist of
if
a
he
fan.
needs that, if he needs those guarantees in his contract, what the fuck did he do?
Oh, you know what he did. They're going to find that responsibility. They're going to suspend him for a year. Because you know what? A head coach is ultimately responsible for whatever his coaches and players are doing. Look at what happened with Pat Narduzzi at Northwestern. That tells you all you need to know. Pat Narduzzi is
Mm-hmm.
not a head coach in the NCAA right now. Who was a very good coach for, for Northwestern. Had that team playing the best we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years. And that's what's going on. So I have the feeling he will be suspended for the year because that's how the NCAA works. College is not like pros.
And the pros, you're allowed to videotape and scout your teams, your opponents.
I mean, and technically that rule was in effect back in the 70s when it was 8 millimeter reel film, where you had to hand crank your cameras. In today's age, people in the stands with an iPhone 12 Pro can get excellent video where you can actually read a play sheet from the stands.
You're not wrong.
Alicia Ford says, hello, gentlemen. Good morning. I am in for my Detroit Lions as I'm a fan of my team, Detroit Lions. You guys having a blessed day. Thank you, Alicia. We appreciate you. I appreciate every fan that comes in and comments. I try to, if I don't put them up here, I at least mention them because you know what? You guys are the reason we're here. I mean, between the main event 365 and my channel, we got almost 1,000 right there. If we could get you guys to all go on one channel, we could produce on one channel on YouTube and probably be getting paid there too. I don't mind. I started this without so much as an inkling that people got paid to do this. Dan Leonard knows when I first started. I was like, what? We can be paid for this?
300 years ago, you old bastard.
3 years ago. When we first
Hey,
met.
man, I understand once you get that old, hundreds become single digits to you. It's okay. We get it.
I'm not the crypt keeper. Jesus Christ.
Hey, I didn't say you were as old as Jerry Jones. I just said you're old.
Like I said, I'm not the crypt keeper. This team is one of the best I've seen so far, and it's awesome how this team is getting built with Sheila, Brad, and Dan. Big props to them making this team great again.
When you have an owner that actually cares about your team and wants your city to stop feeling that depression from it, good things are going to happen.
I believe outside of Belichick and Harbaugh, Ben Johnson is the top target for head coaching jobs. Yeah, I think he's gotten like 5 or 6 interview offers. Has he accepted all of them? No. He's accepted 2, and they're this week. I know one is the Seattle one, and I think the other one is the Foreskins or the Commanders, whatever you want to call them.
I call them the commies.
Fred Peterson says, shit, I'm late. Lost track of time at work. Good morning and great day to be a Lion. Absolutely, Fred. We love you. Scotty, I'm like, Lions fan since 10 years old, be 62 in April. Go Lions, one pride. You guys rock. Thank you so much. I mean, thank you to Russ and Mike for giving me the opportunity to post into these platforms because it gives me a better reach as well. Steve says, what's up to Fred? Well, let's talk about some keys that's coming up this week. You know, we have to maintain the discipline in the trenches. I think that's the biggest thing about this game. Yes, our secondary is weak, but guess what? That secondary for the Bucks isn't that great either. They give up yards in the passing game because they're mostly a zone defense, which guess what? We struggle because we're mostly a zone defense. Both defenses do the exact same thing. They give up yards between the 20s and then clamp down in the red zone. Both teams
The
over
Bucks
the
still
last.
run a Tampa too.
Yes, they do. They run a Tampa 2, which is a 4-3 zone blitz scheme. We're running that 4-2-5. Yep, Fred Peterson's absolutely right. The whole rebuild started with Sheila. Sheila really cares about this team, not just filling the seats. She also, too, wants a Super Bowl. And, Steve says if the Lions front 7 holds up, that will help or should help the secondary. Absolutely. And I've said the same thing. It's why I think we need another generational pass rusher opposite Hutch in this offseason, plus another good dominant defensive tackle present next to it, Lee McNeil. Burrito Jones is not it.
You need 2 solid pass rushers.
Yeah, well, on the end. And solid run blocking eaters.
Early 2000s Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. You had McFarland, Warren Sapp, Simeon Rice, and I believe
The
it was
big guy.
Jackson was the fourth. They created so much pressure just from their 4 down linemen there. You had Rice collapse on the outside and Sapp up the
Barber, a Hall of Famer, because for 2 years that guy disappeared and was burnt toast. He looked like a combination of Eli Apple and Will Harris. And then all of a sudden, those guys started getting pressure. Once that line was built, he starts getting interceptions and looks like a Pro Bowler and an All Pro.
Exactly. That's where I was getting to with that. A good dominant defensive line will mask your deficiencies in the secondary.
Oh, I expect a lot of short passes, Bucks pressure a lot. quick over the top screens beat that every time. Yeah, but at the same time, they're very disciplined with how they cover the screen. Look at Philly. I think they threw it 690 screens in that game and had negative 26 yards in screen passes. I'm
That
scared
was
of doing that.
it was no, it was a single season record. They threw 690 screen passes for a total of negative 26 yards on the season on those passes.
Good lord! But that's also because their perimeter blocking isn't as good. They didn't have a lot of blocking wide receivers or tight ends. They had a whole bunch of pass catchers, guys that didn't want to commit to the run or the screen pass. And Steve asked, "What happened to Bruce Irvin?" Bruce Irvin had to be let go to bring Houston back to the active roster once he cleared his medical to practice. So we had to make room. And it's, well, do you put James Houston on the practice squad and let another person poach him, or do you sign him? And he says, okay.
Yeah,
And it sucked. He was outright released. And the guy that hadn't played it down in a year and a half comes in after 2 weeks of practice. In his very first game, he gets a sack. I think that was on Russ Wilson, if I remember right.
I believe it was. Dude, this year is weird like that. He comes in, performs right off thing. Justin Pugh comes out best offensive lineman on Giants offensive line right off the couch. Joe Flacco has a freaking renaissance year coming right off the couch.
He was only Joe Flacco for 4 weeks. The first week and the last week, he was Joe Flaccid. His Viagra
In his
ran
last 5 games, he threw for like 1,500 yards and almost 20 touchdowns.
until he faced the Texans. Right. I said he had a
Yeah.
4-game stretch where he was amazing. His first game was bad and they lost, remember?
Mm-hmm. You just like calling him Joe Flacco.
He'll help him in practice. And absolutely, he helped him practice. Because you know what he helped? If you look, even Aiden Hutchinson's bend got a little better after watching Bruce Irvin, because he goes like, wow, if his old ass can do it, I can. And Paul Jones says, I love how AG made adjustments around week 5-ish from a man scheme to a cover 2 with blitz scheming. Bend don't break, take pressure off the DBs. You know what? But it really didn't start to click until after the Chicago game. During the early time, remember, we were up against mid teams. There was a lot of mid teams and a few good teams. We played Kansas City in their house. Oh, I don't want to hear it's an asterisk win because they were missing their 2 best players. The best player on that team was still on the field, Patrick Mahomes.
Isaiah Pacheco is the best player on that team right now.
Right now, yes, I'll agree with that. But I'm saying at that time, Isaiah Pacheco didn't look too damn good. But here's the thing. When Dan Campbell came out in that presser after the Chicago game, and he was very embarrassed by the whole output of that defense, he said, I'm going to put my hands on the defense going forward. At that time, Rashee Rice was not a starter. He wasn't even used in the first game versus us. Rashee Rice didn't even appear until I think it was week 5 or 6, and all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, this kid was great.
Yep, it was still Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and Justin Watson that were your primary starters at the time.
Yep, and then Noah Gray, because Travis Kelce was hurt the first game. Travis Kelce comes out the next game and puts up less yardage and had more drops than Noah Gray. He had almost as many drops that second game as Kadarius Toney, and that's why they almost lost that one.
Dude, stupidest thought just popped in my head. The next Chiefs game, I'd love for Travis Kelce to get like a good somebody just get a good lick on him. He hit the ground, get up with his stinger, and they just start playing Shake It Off.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they should do at the Bills. Travis Kelce doesn't look the same. That's what happens when you date the flattest woman in professional music. Your play becomes flat, just as flat as her chest or her ass.
What
Sorry.
happens when you date a 12-year-old boy, Travis?
Oh my God, you said a 12-year-old boy.
She looks like a 12-year-old boy.
And Steve likes that one.
Got to be careful. We don't need Swifties coming in here trying to attack us now, JB.
I want them to. I want them to. I love messing with the Swifties. They're 500,000 strong, but they have all the power of 10 snowflakes. He worried more about pounding his 2x4 girlfriend than pounding the rock that's got her.
Hey, man, it's a whole new meaning to getting some wood.
I wonder if he's you Russell and Mike are comical. You guys are fun to listen to. You know, uh, I want to address something that I heard last night. Everybody was starting to mess with Kirby Joseph, saying, "Oh, he hits too low. He does this. He does that." Everybody shows the picture when Tyler Higbee's leg is flat on the ground. That hit started while he was in the air. His toe was barely touching the ground. It was mid-thigh. When he hit the ground, both of them sank. I mean, I'm sorry, if you weigh 180 pounds and you got a 240 pounder sitting on your shoulder, you're going to fall down too.
If his leg was firmly in the ground, his knee doesn't go back like that.
Right.
It's just the fact that he just had enough to hold it there. If he would have been firmly planted there, he would have had more stability in that leg.
All right. Lions fan, since my brother got me to watch Barry Sanders back in 1989 from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Go Lions, go. Hell yeah, I love it. I was going through the geography of the people I've reached just through my channel on YouTube, and it was amazing. 70%, only 70% are from America. 10% are from Canada. I've got 3% in the UK, 2% in Australia, and 1% through Middle Europe. And I'm talking about Germany, Luxembourg, Switzerland. It tells me every country I visit through my analytics program I have. The craziest one is I've got five people who are subscribed from China.
Surprised they're even allowed to have the internet in China anymore.
Yeah, especially after the stuff in Wuhan. But anyways, so the reach, it truly is worldwide, and it's amazing that we have. Is Grand Blanc another country? No, they're their own little universe.
They're their own little universe.
It's a great big universe, and we're all really puny. We're just tiny little specks about the size of Mickey Rooney. Sorry, that's a
Did
line.
Bills cut Leonard Fournette from their practice squad?
Hmm? Who?
The Bills released Leonard Fournette from the practice squad.
Well, yeah, he was straight booty cheeks. Why do they need him?
So they needed a running back. Why did they sign him?
My opinion, the best quarterback of all time for the Lions won 3 championships. Bobby Lane.
Can you really say he's the best quarterback of the Lions after he cursed you?
While he played for the Lions, he was the best one that played for the Lions. After he left, he was a dick. And Troy Torrey says Kirby Joseph's hit was a football play. Kirby was doing his job. Clean hit, 100%. Clean hit, football play. It's football, for Christ's sake. Fred Peterson says Joey Joseph Harrington. Joey Joseph Harrington could have been, but they threw him to the wolves with his best wide receiver being Azazir Hakim and Pegleg Crowell.
I love Joey Harrington.
I love Joey Harrington because you know what? Whether it was win or lose, that kid walked off the field with a smile on his face because he was just happy to be playing the game. I'd never seen a guy that could throw a pick and just go and walk off the field looking like a Cheshire cat.
Yeah. I
Of
don't
course,
know, man. He
when
got
what
such a bad rip.
he got a bad rep, and you know what? He got his just desserts because he left to go to Miami as their backup. Their starter gets hurt. He plays us on Thanksgiving and rips us a new asshole. So he got his revenge for being thrown to the wolves. Joey Harrington might have been okay if he could have sat a couple of years and developed. But we didn't have anybody on the roster worth starting.
Green Bay's showing letting your quarterback sit for a few years might be the way to go.
At least a year. The rule of thumb used to be a rookie sat for a year, learn the playbook, learn the speed of the NFL by watching the starter ahead of him. Look at Pat Mahomes. The knock on him coming out of college. He's a system quarterback. He'll never be good in the NFL. Remember that? Got a strong arm, but his decision making might be bad.
Well, his decision making isn't always good, but his arm talent makes up for a lot of it.
No, yeah, because you know what he is? He's a younger version of Matt Pitt. And there's the comment of the day because it's the absolute truth. David Campbell. Andre Ware was the worst. That was the worst drafted quarterback in Lions history. Heisman winner out of Houston. Everybody said he's going to be great. Blah, 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 blah. Dude was a bum. And Rodney Pete, his first couple of years here after we drafted him out of USC, he wasn't that great till he went to the Eagles and started dating Holly Robinson. There was someone named Scott. Steve, I will never say Scott Mitchell was a good quarterback for the Lions because that fat bastard is an asshole. Scott Mitchell, I had my oldest son with me at SVSU. Tried to get him a signature. Brett Perriman signed it. Herman Moore signed it. Barry signed it. His T-shirt. You know what he said? I need $100 to sign your son's T-shirt. I told him to suck my dick. You're gonna tell me you need $100 to sign a kid's T-shirt? It wasn't even a jersey, just a T-shirt. You can go kick rocks, especially back in the early '90s.
That before the memorabilia marketing shit, like for autographs, went crazy. So $100 then would be like $700 now for a signature. That guy's a douchebag.
And Fred Peterson says, I would have said the same thing. My son loved him until that time. He loved Scott Mitchell because you know why? That first year he was here, when Johnny Morton, Brett Perriman, and Herman Moore all caught 1,000 yards each, and we looked like that was when we first started doing that run and shoot offense. He loved Scott Mitchell, even with his interception. Alicia Ford says, hey, you awesome guys. I love listening to you both. I just got to make a run. Enjoy you. Always will be checking back with you. Have an awesome day. Gentlemen, one of your listening fans, Alicia Ford. We appreciate that, Alicia. And
Have yourself a lovely day.
Darren says, good for you. I remember when Deion Sanders was getting drafted to the Lions draft me, I would have had them put me on layaway. He did. He did say that. You know what I think I got? Oh, you started to freeze there for a second. Were you trying to flip him off about that? It is funny.
Fucking funny.
It is funny.
Put me on layaway.
You are quite welcome, Alicia. I'm glad you enjoy our show. Make sure you guys tune in tonight at 9:30 p.m. I'm doing the NFL show where I cover a little bit of every team in the NFL. I We also go over the divisional round pick'ems tonight. I like doing it on Wednesdays because during the season we have Thursday night games, and I think it's redonkulous to do your pick'ems after a game's been played throughout the week. Sometimes two.
Tune in and watch me make fun of Will Vogel.
9:30 p.m. Eastern. Will Vogel, a Panthers/Lions fan, in other words, he doesn't have a team. Oh, we'll be there. We also call him the butt chin Padawan. Look at his chin, you'll see why. I got
I
Jordan.
love Will. It's just fun picking on him.
Yeah, I love Will. He's a great guy. He's got a lot of football knowledge, really. I mean, he actually is really smart about football, but we can get him off kilter real easy.
He's getting better with his comebacks now, and I'm very proud to see that evolution in him.
Yeah. And Steve loved the fact that I called him the butt chin Padawan.
Steve, you're gonna tune in. You're gonna see Will Vogel, and the only thing you're gonna think is that man's got more ass on his face than Taylor Swift has in her pants.
Good morning, folks. We have a lot more players healthy in this rematch with the Bucks Lions, 34-17. You know what? They're playing better too, and they're playing better defensively, and that's why I have it a lot closer. I think it's going to be a 7-point win, maybe 8 top.
I can see like a 21-10 win. I've seen Will.
You don't put it this way. Will has a bigger ass on his chin than Taylor Swift has in her pants.
I said that like 2 minutes ago, homie.
I know, but it's got to be said again
I know.
because it's funny.
Dude, I feel so bad about it too because like it never clicked in my head. And the one night on the show, after the show we were in that chat, and he had the phone like down here, and it was just looking up, and I was like, it just looks like a plumber bent over the sink. And I was like, fuck.
And we ran with it ever since. What coaching signing would shock me the most? If it happens soon, it would be hard. I just think he's trying to hold Michigan over the barrel again, like he's done the last 3 years in a row. If what's his name, Arthur Smith, does anything other than be an offensive coordinator, that would be shocking. Same with Riverboat Ron. I think he's only going to be good on the defense again. He just does not have a pulse for an offense or how to run a team anymore. Those are guys that I expect. I think Vrabel would be a great fit for a couple of teams because of the way they have a defense. I think Vrabel would actually be a really good fit out there in with LA, the Chargers. I think he'd be a great fit there. JJ said he's going to the draft. I think Harbaugh is leaving. If Harbaugh had stayed, JJ would stick around another season. No, he wouldn't. He'll never be better than he was this year. This was the best I've seen JJ McCarthy play. Even though they went away from him, and that was by design when Sharon Moore was running the team. That was by design. That was to hide what he had been showing through that stretch when Harbaugh was back, when he was leading the team. I'm still amazed at how bad the Eagles laid down ridiculous number of missed tackles, but then they were playing for Matt Patricia. Absolutely.
Dude, did you see the Manning cast about that? Ray Lewis was on there, and he said all these missed tackles are happening because all these players are playing there for themselves. They are not playing as a team. Bring that dude into a funnel. They're not taking proper angles. They're just trying to make a highlight hit or just do it themselves instead of playing team football, and it's disgusting. And that is rampant through the NFL at that now.
Steve, the NCAA never completed their investigation or gave a finding yet. The Big Ten overreacted and suspended Harbaugh early. That thing's all still going on. We don't know if he's being suspended or not. The rumor is he will be suspended. I can't say it's news yet. I don't make assumptions. Not about NCAA stuff, because you never know. They might say we can't suspend the national champion coach because then we got to strip the title.
You really think they give a shit about making people unhappy and doing stuff like that?
And he says, "Oh, that's right." And I called it out immediately. The Big Ten overreacted. It actually, they had a lawyer that was ready to put in a restraining order on the suspension that the Big Ten laid down. And you know what? You know what Jim Harbaugh did? No, let it happen. I got a plan. Because all it said was he couldn't be at the games. He was able to coach all week long. So he coached that team with Sharon Moore all week, gave him the game plan, and said, okay, run it down everybody's throat and barely throw the ball. Hide J.J. McCarthy till the playoffs. It was smart because everybody was not prepared for, and he didn't even pass the ball a lot in those games. We ran the ball a lot still, but his passing was way more effective through the playoffs than we saw the entire season because nobody thought they had to cover anybody.
He secured himself a top 20 draft pick this year. It's okay.
Yeah, and probably one of the four out of the 3 or 4 that gets drafted in the first round. He'll be in the 2 that might be sitting for a year because I don't think he's ready for the NFL, just like Brent said. Yeah, how about that? Matt Patricia takes over 7 weeks prior or 6 weeks prior to the wild card round. They go 1-6 in that stretch and give up more passing yards than any team has that the Eagles have had coached since their Super Bowl win.
I know exactly what happened. Patricia became the play caller, sabotaged the team so Sirianni gets fired. Belichick has somewhere to go next year.
It's a possibility. I hope they don't fire Sirianni. I hope they gut the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator and bring in fresh ones. Because Sirianni proved he could coach the year before, but Steichen damn near got the Colts to the playoffs as their head coach. Where did the defensive coordinator go? Because he's a head coach now too, right?
Gannon
But
went to
oh, he went to
Arizona.
Arizona. Yeah, he might be fired. he's awful.
Dude, they knew exactly what they were doing there. They were tanking.
Packers will have their hands full. So what do you think they need to scheme to beat the 49ers?
Pressure. Find some way to get Brock Purdy's blind side.
5'9" and 210, right around there. Blake Corum of Michigan, isn't he like 5'9" and 210,
Something like that.
or just over 200 pounds? Barry Sanders was listed as 5'9", but if you stand next to him, he's actually 5'7", and he weighed 215. Darren Sproles was tiny; he was 5'6" and a midget. But that guy lit up the NFL.
Ooh, Blake Corum, 5'8" and 213.
Okay, he's not small frame. That's a good frame for that height. That's Barry Sanders' side. That's what I'm getting at. Purdy is terrible when pressured. But guess what? Trent Williams is playing, and when Trent Williams plays, he doesn't get pressured.
Pretty much, they're going to have to send safeties on safety blitzes to help get pressure to him.
Yep. Safety and corner blitz is the key because that's what, if you actually watch the Brian Flores defense, the only DNs got pressure where Trent Williams was not. The stuff that came from the other side was linebacker, safety, and corner back blitzes in one-on-ones with the tight end. So That's the key. It's blitz from everywhere.
Everywhere that
This is
Trent
true,
Williams is
Brent.
not.
I met him too. When I was a paltry lad in the 90s, and I say that now because I'm 60 pounds heavier than then. When I weighed 175 at 5'11", Barry's thigh was almost as big as my waist. His thigh was both my legs put together. And Steve says, I'm not sure if we can stop CMC. And you're absolutely right. CMC is the key to this game. As much as I hate to say it, it's going to be a slobber knocker. You guys defensively are tackling better than you used to. You guys have your secondaries playing better, and Jair Alexander being back is a big part of it. I hope he's okay because he did get nicked up in that game.
Him, Christian Watson, somebody else are not practicing today.
Right. So they're sitting out their second day of practice. That's not a good sign. Hopefully they stay unquestionable. If they go to out by Friday, I'm going to be swaying more towards the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I'm not doing a rivalry thing. I'm speaking from right here in the heart on what I think. I actually think the Texans have more than the puncher's chance because the Ravens been sitting for 3 weeks now.
That'd be amazing if the Texans win.
And Robert said nothing can stop our offense as asinine. Nothing against Robert, but that's wrong to say. Absolutely. You know what? What a great show. We've already burned through 54 minutes and Russell's getting ready to go live, and I didn't even realize it's been that long.
Damn. Wow.
So I want to say to everybody in the chat, try every day to be a better person than you were the day before, because that's the only way to make the world a better place. Time has flown. That is my sponsor for my show, Gloss Negron out of Saginaw. I'm going to remove that banner so you can actually see the whole thing. Give him a call, 989-443-9240. He's one of the best window tinners here in Michigan, in the Tri-Cities. Mention my name, he'll give you a discount. He does some pretty great work. I love that one. And to everybody who lost in the playoffs, I got one thing to say to you. Much better. I sense in you. Cry like bitches should. It has been a fantastic day. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Paul Jones, Brent DeWitt, Steve, Alicia Ford. All of you have been great. I loved it. Derek. God, there's been so many. The chat has been blowing up, and I love it.
It is great to interact with people like that constantly, new people coming in and saying stuff. Don't forget to go over to YouTube, subscribe to us, the Villain Squad, Main Event 365. We appreciate you all.
Yep. Have a great day, and spade and neuter your pet.